Now there's one question I often see in forums, and that is, which power bank should I buy? Well, in this video I'm hopefully going to help you to answer that question. So the biggest question is, first, what do you intend on using the power station for? Now this question is so important as it will affect the power that you need. So the very first power station that I ever bought was the Jackery 240. Now this worked perfectly for me, but because I didn't ask myself that same question first, it was slightly limited. And the second question you need to ask yourself is, how long do you want the power station to last for? Now that might not be as important if you have a car 12-volt charger or you plan on having solar panels as well. So going back to the first question, let's say you have a travel kettle like this one. So this works at 600 watts, which means you need a power station that has 600 watt power. And for me, that is the Allpowers 700, which, as you can probably guess, has a total power of 700 watts. Now power stations will have something that is called a surge rating. For the 700, the surge rating is 1400 watts. Now what surge rating means, basically with some items, when you turn them on, first of all, they have a massive surge of power. Now I had this on one item in particular, my 12-volt electric lunchbox, and when I used to try using this on my Jackery, the surge would trip the Jackery out. So that's basically what the surge is for. It's only for when you turn an item on. It doesn't mean you can use an item at that rating. Now the second question that I asked earlier relates to the battery's capacity. So looking at the 700, that has a capacity of 606 watt hours. So to work out how long a battery bank will last for, well, that sum is actually remarkably simple. Basically, with this item, it has 606 watt hours. So what that means is that you could use an item that is powered at 606 watts for one whole continuous hour. And that's why it's so important why you factor in both the power you need and the capacity you need when you're looking at a power station. Now there is really one important sum when you're looking at the capacity of any power bank, but I'll tell you that a little later on. Now for me, over the past couple of years, the 700 has been the one that I have used the most. It has been perfect for my car camping, both in terms of size, capacity and power. But let's say you don't have a 600 watt kettle and a 600 watt cooker, and all you need is something smaller to power your phone and your laptop. Well, then we move down to Allpowers' smallest power station, the Allpowers 200. But the 200, as you can probably guess, has a max power of 200 watts, it has a surge power of 240 watts, and the total capacity is 154 watt hours. Now for me, I've used this power station mainly on couples car camps when all I need to charge is my phone and my tablet. But I have also taken it into work a couple of times because it will power my work laptop for about 3 to 4 hours in total. And the good thing in both those instances is its size. It's small enough to fit in my work bag, and in couples mode, it's small enough to fit inside the door. Now actually, another thing you need to consider when you're looking at power stations are the ports that the power station has. Now all of these power stations have USB-Cs, USB-As, AC sockets, but not all of them have 12-volt sockets. So the 200 has AC and USB-Cs and As, but it doesn't have a 12-volt socket. And likewise, the 700 is the only one out of all of these that has DC sockets. But let's say your power needs are even smaller than 200 watts. Well, that's when you will probably need something like this. So this is something that I thought would be really good for wild camping. It's small, it's light, it has clips, you can easily recharge it, and it's perfect for charging your small devices. So your phone, your tablet, and maybe wireless headphone type things. So the capacity of this is only 10,000 milliamps, but to be honest, you're only going to be using it for small devices. Now, and from the smallest capacity, we are jumping to what I call the Beast. Now, the Beast you've seen me using on quite a few videos in the past, both in terms of solo car camping and when we have been couples campsite car camping, and that is of course the R1500. Now, the Beast will power pretty much any appliance you can really think of for car camping. It has a total power of 1800 watts, a total capacity of 1152 watt hours, and it has a fairly massive 3400 watt surge. Now, despite its size and weight, I do like using the 1500 on car camps. It pretty much means I don't have to worry about power or capacity at all. I can cook on 600 watts, I can make as many coffees as I want to, I can charge all my filming gear, my drones, my batteries and everything, and I don't have to worry at all. But the sacrifice for that is the size. It does take up a lot of room in the back of my car camper. And from the Beast, we then move on to the one power station that I can't show you, and that's because I gave it away in a competition, and that is the Allpowers 300, which by now I'm sure you can guess has a 300 watt max power, it has a 500 watt surge, and it has a 288 watt hour capacity. So because I gave this power station away, it's the only one that I never actually used on a car camp, but it is very comparable to my Jackery 240 that I also gave away in a competition. Basically, it had more than enough capacity and more than enough power to charge all the devices that I wanted to, and it basically was powerful enough to enable me to use low wattage 12 volt appliances like a kettle and an electric lunchbox. So that takes us to the final power station in this video. It's one that I only received just this week, is the Allpowers S2000 Pro. And if the 1500 was a beast, then the S2000 Pro is a monster. But one of the things I like about the monster over the beast is the fact that the monster is actually slightly smaller. And the reason why I call it a monster? Well, its stats are massive. It has 2400 watt power, it has a peak of 4000 watts, and its total capacity is 1452 watt hours. And this monster has all the ports you would ever need, except for DC. Like I say, the 700 is the only one out of all of these that actually has DC ports. I literally could power, I think, anything I want to on a car camp. I could finally buy myself an air fryer, I could use a proper induction hob, but when we're looking at capacity, obviously the higher the power item you use, then the quicker you're going to go through that capacity. Now, I mentioned earlier there was an important sum that you need to factor in when looking at a power station's total capacity, and that is the simple fact that not all of the capacity is actually usable. Now, I consider this a bit like an iPhone. You buy a 32GB iPhone, but you lose 10GB in an operating system, so you only have 22GB usable. Well, a power station is much like this, and I'm guessing it's for safety reasons. So on the Allpowers website, you can see here, basically 86% of it is usable. So with the Beast, for example, that might be 1452 watt hours, but of that, this is the number that is actually usable storage. Now, I am looking forward to getting the monster out on car camps. It'll be great for my solos and even better for the couples car camps, especially when we're on campsites and we don't in effect need to worry so much about having to recharge. So in the video description below, I'll put a discount code that you can use across the Allpowers website. But more importantly, what I'll put in the description are all the individual review videos for everything you've seen here, except the 2000 Pro that doesn't have its own video just yet. But as always, I hope you found this video useful, and until next time, take care.